Good morning, Acadiana, and welcome to another edition of Morning Coffee with Big Al
and Special T.
We're happy to be coming to you from Cypress Street Radio, AOC Community Media streaming broadcast.
Look for us every day of the week. Our 8 a.m. show will start your morning off right. That's right in a good way.
Not right as in radical right. We bring you good ideas, good pastimes, and who knows what else.
With a progressive flair. Okay. Our 7 p.m. stream, which we also have, is a great backdrop for some decaf and peace of mind. So whatever your situation, whatever it is that you're needing as a beverage to get you through this wonderful show, sit back and enjoy it all.
Yes, definitely.
Well. How about that?
Yeah.
So, Al, we're still in COVID mode, but phase 3, I understand. And I have noticed that more of the doors have opened to stores than they used to have. Many stores used to have one door open.
Yeah.
But now they have 2 doors open. So
except
now
for Albertsons.
3. Okay. Well, I think Albertsons only has 1 door, don't they?
Well, I'm talking about the one over on Ambassador. And
okay.
So I have to walk all the way down to one end, which normally I go in, but it depends on where I want to go to the store. And of course, it kind of crowds the parking lot too. I mean, I guess there's some benefit to that, but Mark, I hear.
I'm going to ignore it. It's my regular phone, and I can't do anything about it except unplug it.
Okay.
And I don't know what it's saying all the time anyway because it's intelligible.
Well, that's
understand it. But anyway, if they really want to talk to me, they'll leave a message, and if they leave a message, we'll hear it. But usually,
really, what? That could be interesting.
Yeah, well, not usually. Usually, it's really boring. But
yeah. Well, we'll hope that it's just a boring message.
Oh Lord, it's the pharmacy calling up about the thing I told them I wasn't going to pick up.
Okay.
Lordy. But anyhow, I'm surprised that you used that particular store. There's 2 Albertsons on Ambassador Caffrey. There's one.
The one by College Saloon.
Okay, that one's way down the road. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, what doors are you talking about? But
it depends on where you live. It has a lot to do with. Yeah,
there's Albertsons on there is Albertsons on Ambassador Caffrey closer to the I-10.
Yeah, right near Congress.
Yeah, right near Congress. But it doesn't. It used to have 2 doors. It used to have a door that opened up to the liquor store. And they changed all that.
I haven't been to that one in a while.
Yeah. So anyway, but I was noticing that Target had always, for the COVID thing, they had only 1 door open, and now they actually do have.
Yeah, they're back up to 2.
Mm-hmm. And I just noticed that today. Which, let me share that still, I think Target's the only place that actually recycles glass.
Right. I was just about to say something about that.
So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's something we need to be doing a lot more of, is recycling. And I was reading something or listening to something today about the plastic, which is not getting recycled very well. I mean, we kind of need to get it together instead of just thinking we can just go make a big pile of stuff somewhere and that'll be okay. But I don't know, that gets back to unfortunately, it gets back to the system. And,
yes.
It's like, I remember when we used to
bring Coke bottles back. And get money.
Exactly. And that was a good system.
Yeah, it was a good system. It allowed little kids to, learn about commerce.
Yeah.
Do you hear an echo when I talk?
No.
Good.
No,
Okay.
no.
No, I hear an echo. I don't know why, but it's something on my system. So
maybe it's your walls.
Maybe. I'm glad y'all don't hear it. But anyhow, regarding recycling, what was I going to say? That I actually have been mailing my recycling to a foam place that accepts like packing foam and peanuts and clean stuff that you don't use, because we have this desert here, and it's actually close to Dallas. I just found this one that actually says that they have their address posted. It's in Keller or something like that. But anyway, I put it in a box because these were the great big blocks of packing material for things like computers and major things that need to not jostle in the box. So they're pretty heavy duty, sturdy. They're still very light though. So I put them in a box. I put them in one of those big boxes that they ship dog food and stuff in.
Yeah.
It cost me $46 to mail that. I'm gonna run off. I'm gonna get my glass of water that was here because I'm about to start coughing.
Need a drink? Well, here's to you.
Thank you. I'll be right back.
And in the meantime, recycling is a good idea. And this, of course, is just my take on it, but we need to recycle everything we can. We need to make products that facilitate recycling. And everybody needs to be conscientious because we just don't have room, or it's just not a good idea for the planet. And so it's a cost that needs to be paid. And now back to specialty.
Yeah, specialty. And I heard Al a little bit of what he's talking about. It's so true. And actually, there is a program that is underway. It's a pilot program that I'm participating in. I may end up having to go and borrow a truck from somebody because it's so sad that it's hard to get people to buy into things that have to do with avoiding climate change in certain industries, But there are certain vendors who have stockpiles of refrigerants that are gas refrigerants, like Freon and stuff like that. And we're supposed to be phasing that out. And the thing is that if that Freon escapes in certain ways, it's damaging to the environment. But there's certain facilities in the United States that allow you to destroy the Freon and other refrigerants in an environmentally safe way. And a group that I've been participating with has identified a EPA-approved destruction site for Freon and refrigerants. And we've contacted vendors all over the United States in larger cities who have agreed to sell their refrigerants to this company, and then FedEx will go and pick it up and carry it to this place. The only thing is you have to have somebody who will accept the Freon, be the go-between to get the money from this group that's doing it and pay it to the vendor, and then weigh it, label it in time for the FedEx people to come pick it up and carry it away. Well, Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, you know how many like chemical plants that they probably have, and how many people work on air conditioners and all that other stuff and all the industry. Well, Houston has offered up 50 whole pounds. Baton Rouge found 100, and Biloxi, Mississippi, 100. And I'm like, not much at all. I mean, you're talking, the space you would need in your area would be like the size of a closet, a small closet.
That much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the canisters for like 60 pounds, the biggest size that it would possibly be is a 60-pound cylinder. And, it's only about like that big, right? It's in diameter.
Yeah.
It might stand about, well, like up to my waist, a little higher. And I'm like, really, what's the problem?
Well,
so I may go and pick that stuff up myself and weigh it and call the people and say, come get it. I mean, I'm close enough to a FedEx outlet. Who is it?
Well, it's not a whole lot of effort. I mean, I don't put a whole lot of effort into recycling what I recycle, which is everything I can that I know of. I mean, granted, there may be things I don't know, but it's not really that difficult now.
And it's amazing the impact it makes on how much stuff you have to go in the landfill. Your garbage decreases almost exponentially, I mean, it's like, okay, you're lucky to have a full bin once a week.
Oh yeah. I mean, it of course I don't really have that much stuff anyway, but still, I mean, there's it needs to be put into regulation. And, in spite of who's getting campaign contributions to not do it, which is the reason we have a problem.
Well, if there was a money incentive for people to not have, where they were paying by the bundles, how much garbage went into landfill as opposed to being recycled, where you would get a credit, and there was a way to monitor to make sure that they weren't trashing up stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of funny, but there are certain ways that you can contaminate a load. Like you don't put crawfish shells in the recycling bin.
Yeah.
So you would get maybe fined for that. But if people did it right, and if there was like an incentive, maybe they could do a better job. Maybe we get more participation. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure it would, but I mean, it's once again, it gets back to the system. And when you have a system that, the main consideration is making a buck, and if you can offload your expenses to somebody else or offload your energy expenditures, your effort, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's like, well, for instance, I mean, we're getting to a point to where electric cars are, that's going to be the way it is. I'm about as certain of that as I can be. And I mean, I have a hybrid, which is not bad, but it's not as good as totally electric. But but I mean, we can actually go to a clean energy economy.
Well, I'm so excited that the folks that are staying at my house from Lake Charles, who had storm damage from Laura, they actually have an electric car, and I just happen to have I happen to have the kind of hookup they need in order to charge their car from my house in my garage. Yeah.
What is it, Tesla?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they make a good car. I mean,
we are not endorsing Tesla. We just say electric cars are cool.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's some of the, and I guess it was a year or two ago, I saw a video on how rapid it's really going to be with electric cars, and which I found to be pretty amazing. But the guy had a very good rationale, and because when you get right down to it, there's a lot less to break on an electric car. And,
it's like there's nothing in it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's batteries and a motor. I mean, that's
you went into like a thing that looked like a suburban Tesla, and when you opened up the hood, it had the golf clubs in there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, there's no motor.
Well, I mean, I met a guy with, and I think it's, I guess it's a Model Y that looks like it's a SUV or a crossover or whatever. Maybe it's a Model XL. I don't know. I can't keep up with all of them, but but it's really nice to drive in, and just as much acceleration as you want. I mean, this guy was forensic doctor of some kind. I'm trying to think, forensic pathologist, I believe is what he said. And he liked to go around, with all the little drag racing people here in the area, and race them, and smoke everybody, because it's just so much faster than even the really fast cars. I mean, with maybe a really nice Corvette or a Hellcat or something like that, might be a little competition, but most of the time, I mean, it's really not much of a contest because they accelerate so well.
They do accelerate really fast. We were given a demo of that, and it was like shocking.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's just the torque is so tremendous from an electric motor. And I mean, if you think about a train, I mean, it's diesel electric, so you have diesel generating the electricity typically, but you're talking about just think of all the torque it takes to move a train that's let's just say a mile long, and all those cars and all that steel. I mean, that's a lot of weight. But they
seem to get going pretty slow, but I've ridden in the electric trains over in Asia.
Okay.
And man, they're very smooth, and they're so fast. I mean, a trip that would take you, better than a day, you're where you need to be in just a matter of hours.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, that's what we need to be doing. And,
absolutely. And so many times they tried to get approval of like an electric train, like some sort of big triangle that would contact Houston or Dallas to Chicago and the West Coast. Oh no, nobody wanted to, somebody put on the brakes. There was a lot of pushback, and it just really doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because you have the oil interests that don't want to cut into their rice bowl,
Well, that's going away, I'm sorry, no matter what. I mean, they've been predicting it for ages.
Well, and if you look back into the early part of last century, I mean, everybody. I mean, I probably would have never seen a gasoline, internal combustion engine had we followed the path that was possible back then, but was, avoided due to maneuvering by
special interests. Yeah. And they had a lot of power, and they pushed it. Like that thing with, I saw some movie that I saw, the Ford Ferrari movie.
Yeah.
That was pretty, kind of let you see the corporate mentality of all show and not really, being open to like a different idea. Kind of sad.
Well, there's you probably heard me mention about the MMT and the monetary system at the federal level and all that.
Oh, yeah. And our listeners are going to be so excited about hearing all about taxes too today.
Yeah, well, that's another.
Like, hello, economics 101, and we're going to have taxes 101, but we'll get to that later.
Well, it's stuff that people need to know about. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is something, we might be able to cover a little bit of it in today's show, but to really get into all the different things that.
Well, everything changes too, because, there's invariably things that go before Congress and the legislature as far as, dates and deductions and how to make it fair, because it really is targeted at making, there are built-in checks that are trying to make it a tax that's not repressive, where it's not making it where people cannot function. Instead, it's supposed to stimulate our economy.
Well, theoretically.
Well, that's
the idea of taxing a high income was to get, and this was very successful in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and, partially into the 70s, but was to get industry, to create more good jobs, and that's, and that went by the wayside because of St. Ronnie.
Where they can figure out how to make individuals rich on the backs of people who are, the ones with their nose to the grindstone.
Well, and that's essentially what's happened. And I'm sure a lot of people, people think, oh, just work hard, and it's like, people just really don't know. They've been brainwashed into so much of this, we're all rugged individuals and, I hate commies and I hate socialists and, blah, blah, blah. Well, right, they don't. And it's, and you look at, and then the tax code's an interesting, the whole monetary policy, not to mention just the tax code, but the, the way, why is the market up so much right now? We're
the gamblers.
Well, it's that, but there's so much money being pumped into it.
Well, yeah.
Which is not going. The problem is it's not going through the proper channels. It's not going in at the bottom and coming up through the system.
Right.
It's just like, it's benefiting the, the top percent of the people in the United States and, others who participate in the economy here instead of benefiting everyone, which it could be doing.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Once again, that's it's a big topic.
Right. And there's lots of pushback on that too,
Well, there needs to be, but people need to know. People need to know what's going on with that.
Absolutely.
Because if they did, then there wouldn't be this. Well, how are we going to pay for it? Oh, a Green New Deal. How are we going to pay for it? Just like you do every other thing. Just like you pay, when you build a $2 billion, $8 billion aircraft carrier, however much they are, they're not cheap. But that money is, people are under the impression that the money has to be taxed. Oh, we have to offset this. And when in fact, the federal government, not the state government, not the city government, not the parish government, there's a major difference. The federal government creates the money when the bill is signed. Yeah. And that money is put into the system. And when money's taxed out of the system, it's just not circulating anymore. That's what that means. The people do not know that because they've been told that it's, we'll have to raise taxes for this, And on a state level, you do. On a local level, you do, because it's the difference between being a currency creator and a currency user. And
I think we're going to show our tax. I think we're going to show our little shows about taxes.
Well, it sounds good to me. So we're going to fade into that here shortly. Is that the plan?
That's the plan.
Well, it sounds good. We'll do that in just a matter of seconds.
Hi YouTube, it's John Haley here, and it's tax season time, which I know makes a lot of people excited and then makes other people really, really anxious. But I've been getting a lot of messages about taxes, like how do I file my taxes, and should I pay somebody to do it or do it myself, and what are the best websites to do my taxes? Since everybody's pretty much thinking about taxes right now, I decided to do an income tax series on my channel. I've been pretty much doing my own taxes since I started filing. And the first thing I think everybody needs to know is that it's so important to just take time to understand taxes first. There's so many people out here just going to H&R Block and spending all this money to do taxes just because they're not taking the time to understand how taxes work and, maybe consider doing it themselves. And I speak from experience because I started doing my taxes with TurboTax and I was paying like $100. And that's unnecessary. Not to throw shade at TurboTax or anything because they're great, but it's more, it's better for people who have complicated taxes. If all you have is like a W-2, you can pretty much do your taxes by yourself because that's a pretty simple thing to do. And you can do it online for free or for really cheap. So even though paying taxes, really sucks, it's not an option. It's not something you should try to avoid doing. That's just not a good look. Ask Martha Stewart. It's definitely going to take you a little bit of time now, but it will save you a lot of money in the long run. So how exactly do taxes work in America? Well, when you pay taxes to the IRS, the money goes to local, state, and federal governments so they can budget it out and kind of, provide different services and projects that'll help people. So that could range from making sure that food and medicine that we buy is safe to making sure that our streets aren't filled with cracks and potholes. Well, the streets in my neighborhood are filled with cracks and potholes, but that's a topic for another day. The tax system is really complicated, but it does have a lot of rules and regulations that actually are put in place to kind of help people use their money in a smarter way. So for example, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that if you pull out money from your retirement, like your 401k at work, and you use it for anything that's not retirement, then the government is going to punish you and they're going to, charge you a penalty tax fee on top of the regular taxes. So that makes people less likely to pull out their retirement savings before they actually need to retire. They also do things like reward people for donating stuff. Like if you donate a lot of money to charity, then they'll lower your taxes. There's a lot of different types of taxes and that could be confusing. So I'm just going to go over some of the basic ones and the ones that most average people will see, more often than not. So the first one is sales tax, which is added to most things that you buy at the stores. So it goes directly to your state government unless the state that you live in doesn't charge any sales taxes. Well, then lucky you. But it ranges from 4% in Hawaii to 7 or 8% in California and New York. And it's not like you have to pay it at your income taxes or anything. It just gets taxed once and that's it. And then there's payroll tax, which includes things that are taken out of your paycheck, like federal income taxes, state income taxes, Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, city or school district taxes, disability taxes, unemployment taxes, taxes, more taxes. You get the point. But this stuff basically is automatically taken out of your paycheck before you get your paycheck. And then there's income tax, which is, depending on your salary, it could be anywhere from 10% to 39.6% of what you earn every year, and that goes directly to the federal government. The taxes usually get taken out slowly throughout the year from your paycheck based on what you put on your W-4 form. So it's really important that you make sure that you fill out the W-4 correctly when you start a new job. And you could change it at any point if your family situation changes or if something at home changes and you need to change it. So definitely make sure there's a resource that I put in the description box where you can read up about how to fill out your W-4 correctly. But then at the end of the year, basically you report your income taxes and tell the government how much you owe. And if they took out too much throughout the year, then they, will give you a refund. But if they took out too little, if you didn't give enough, then you have to owe them taxes. And that's basically why we all file income taxes in the first place. Then there's capital gains tax, which is only charged if you make money on investments that you made throughout the year. So if you bought a stock for like $100 and then you sold it for $150, then the government is going to tax that $50 of profit that you made. And then there's higher taxes on short capital gains because that means that you kept the stock for just like less than a year. You didn't really let it grow over time. And then there's, lower taxes for longer term capital gains, which, is again, another incentive that the government puts in place to try to help people make smarter moves with their money. They want you to put the money in your investment and leave it and let it grow over time so that you can really see the results and the benefits of compounding interest. Then there's property taxes, which are only due if you own a house or the other type of properties. And then they basically tax you on the value of your home and the property that it's on. So you'll have, you have to report all the properties that you own. And if you have like a summer home or something like that, rich people status, then, you'd be paying taxes on all that. And you're taxed every year, whether you own your home or property completely or whether you're still paying towards your mortgage. If your name is on that paperwork, Uncle Sam will come knocking on your door to collect his money. You are pretty much probably going to be paying the taxes with your mortgage every month so that you can avoid getting this one giant lump sum of taxes when tax season comes. That's pretty much how most mortgages work. Now that you know all the basics of taxes and how they work and what they are, a couple things you should do up next is make sure that your W-4 is filled out correctly and check with your job to make sure you're taking advantage of all the pre-tax benefits that you possibly can take advantage of. And then one last thing is just be organized. If you made donations or if you went to the dentist or doctor, if you were hunting for a job, if you got W-2s or if you sold a home or made improvements to your home, changed anything in your investments or IRA or anything like that, keep track of all those forms. One nice thing about online brokerages like Betterment and Wealthfront is that they just send you those forms electronically, so it makes that nice and easy for you. Now, I know that taxes are complicated. I'm not going to deny that, but it's just like Monopoly. When you start playing, it's really confusing, and then you learn the rules, and then you start to have fun playing. So this is the same way. Just make sure you know the rules and regulations, and then you can kind of make sure you're doing things the right way. That's all I have for you guys in this video. I'm really excited to put this up because I feel like a lot of people have been asking me about taxes. If you liked it, go ahead and put a comment below and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And as always, you can message me privately at missbehelpful@gmail.com. Till next time, peace.
Knowing the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance is important because it can mean the difference between paying lower taxes and going to prison. Robert is looking for a way to lower his gross income and reduce the amount of money that he pays to the government in taxes. Robert decides to engage in tax avoidance by maximizing the full amount of tax deductions and tax credits that he can take. Robert maxes out his 401k contribution amount and donates to different charitable organizations so that he has the lowest adjusted gross income possible. Once Robert files his taxes, his tax liability will be much lower than it would have been if he had not employed this strategy. Subsequently, Robert has a lower tax bill. Robert employs tax avoidance, which is the use of different methods and strategies to lower the amount of taxes that he owes. This method is perfectly legal and is used by accountants and tax professionals to save their clients money. If Robert would have gone the route of tax evasion, then he would have found himself in hot water. Tax evasion is an illegal practice that involves intentionally avoiding paying taxes that are owed. Had Robert chosen the tax evasion route, he would not have reported all of his earnings to the Internal Revenue Service and would have ignored disclosing the interest earned on his savings account. Robert would run the risk of facing criminal charges and paying substantial fines and penalties. Tax avoidance will allow taxpayers to either lower their tax liabilities altogether or defer them to a much later date. This is a much better option than tax evasion which will increase the tax liability if discovered and leave the taxpayers subject to fines and imprisonment.
So, for all of our listeners out there, the big advice is you need to really be careful about taking off money as a business deduction if you get a $70,000 hairdo.
Yeah.
Do not do it because you'll probably end up reprimanded almost to the point of going to jail. Now, if you've done it more than once, more and more likely you'll go to jail because you do not write off your haircut.
Yeah, that's probably not the best idea.
No. Personal hygiene is not considered a tax deductible expense.
Well, I wonder if there's I wonder how that works with somebody in the entertainment.
I would think that if there was something specific that was ordered by like the producer of a particular show.
Yeah.
Like if they ended up having to have, those girls that are like from science fiction things that they have to have their hair done, where it's like in loops where it looks like horns or something.
Yeah.
But just to, like every day, no.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how the latest little thing with haircuts works out. But and I would think a lot of times with movies and TV shows and stuff like that,
they have their makeup artists right there.
Right, exactly.
And
they probably have
a company to do that job.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. So, no. Not at all. So now we've given some people some good information to think about. Another thing to think about is the fact that, you have the opportunity, people may not know, to defer their taxes to get an extension, when the due date comes up. There are some questions about the tax relief. And it's not tax relief, the incentive checks that we got, those supposedly are not taxable unless for some reason you got something that you weren't supposed to. And then you just have to return it, probably, if they find out. They'll find out when you pay your taxes.
Yeah, it's way too complex.
I think that there's going to be another release of money for and it's so badly needed. There's so many people that don't, like they just furloughed thousands upon thousands of people from the airline industry. Have you heard
20,000 or so, yeah.
Wow, I'm like, that's going to hit hard on the numbers for unemployment. I'm just hoping that if you have to travel, that there still be pilots flying planes.
Well, this whole thing has been so mismanaged. It's
absolutely.
I was talking about earlier, I mentioned MMT, and just for our global listening audience, that stands for Modern Monetary Theory. And this is, I guess, the thing about the theory, it's not really a theory. When it was originally
adopted,
observed, 20 plus years ago, it was kind of theoretical because you had some, monetary experts. People that ran huge funds and PhDs and just, people that were pretty sharp when it came to finances. But they started looking at this and they say, this looks like this is working like this. And it was kind of theoretical at that point. And then after a while, I say, yeah, we know this is working like this. But the name stuck, and it's something that if people want to study, it's very interesting and it's very enlightening, but you have to kind of keep an open mind because it probably took me 2 months before I could absorb the main things about it because it's so different than what we've been told and the propaganda we've been, that's been spewed about how things work, about
and the way we've been taught from
right, exactly,
children and all. And then there's other things like the Bitcoin issue, and using the computer for the blockchain protections and all that really is like a modern thinking. I guess it's kind of like new math for our parents, that they just don't understand. And I don't understand it.
It's a lot of new stuff. I mean, the modern monetary theory, though, is it's a real thing. It's not really so much a theory. I mean, it's kind of like the theory of gravity. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I drop something, it's going to hit the floor. And,
right, and that's the way it is for those people who are truly into the workings of making this happen already. They understand it completely. I know someone who is working on making a process where points substitute for money. And it's for, I don't know, there's supposed to be some animated film that's going to come out that makes it where it's real easy to understand.
Points,
so you cool. Yeah, points. So I guess it's kind of like Bitcoin. I don't know. It sounds like it a little bit.
Well, I mean, the thing that makes the U.S. dollar valuable, the main thing is that's the only way you can pay your taxes in the United States, is it has to be with U.S. dollars.
Right.
And that's not to say gold isn't worth something, but we're not on the gold standard anymore. We went off the gold standard in the early 70s. And
but it's more difficult, they talk about liquidity. The dollar and the systems of money are the most liquid. Well, maybe if you're actually in the Bitcoin arena, that might be more liquid. But
I think it's pretty liquid, but I don't know. I haven't really dabbled in it,
But money is like the ultimate because it's accepted everywhere. Now, if if Trump makes everybody mad enough that our money is not accepted overseas, then it's not going to be liquid anymore. Because
some interesting things about it.
Yeah, really. I mean, we've been using it for trade. There's a lot of protectionism as far as making sure that the U.S. dollar is the standard for trade. But if we make enough people mad, and cut off things enough, and we've been rejected, or at least our current administration has been rejected on some of the things that they want the global community to accept. I mean, they've hands down said, no, we're not supporting that. Which is like an eye-opener because we've always been able to, negotiate. But the level of community, working as a community and all, there's been a real chasm put in it with all these things that have been done forcefully and with I mean, just look at the debate, how that went. I mean, who wants to cooperate with someone who does that? I mean, yeah, if you're a coward and you say, oh yeah, do whatever you want to, play the dead bug game, but no, I mean, that's not the way business is supposed to do. It's supposed to be where you coordinate, you work together, you try and do what's best for the greater number of people, or at least both parties, not just, hey, try and make your own reality. It's not the way it works.
Well, theoretically, that's a good way to do business anywhere you do business. I mean,
absolutely.
Find out what somebody wants and help them get it. If you're going to do a deal, say there's some country that has some resource that you want, not just, how are you going to pull it off to where this little small group here can make a lot of money and the rest of the population will suffer. I mean, you make it to where
you make them
it's a good deal for everybody,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's not, not everybody does business like that.
Yeah, the good way to do business is win-win. Look at a way that everybody benefits. And
exactly.
If we all did that, then everything would be better for the most part. We'd probably still hit some snags, but it wouldn't be a case of saying, oh, well, you walk away. You try and work with the groups to make it come together more smoothly. Just like, there's some problems with some of our policy. Well, you don't throw it out. Yeah, you don't throw it out. You try to work together to try and make it, better, to identify what the problems are and work through it, so that those issues that are causing so much pain can be eliminated and make it to where it's, palatable.
Well, we have to me, I mean, there's you can do business in an ethical manner. I mean, I think we have to take into consideration the planet. I mean, because it's the only one we have handy. And
they're trying to find another one,
Yeah.
They want to trash this one. We're getting so close to it that they're going to try and find another one that they can,
Well, it's, it's kind of, when you look at it, it's, a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, they don't.
If you look at different countries all over the world, you're going to find some that have had civilizations for so much longer. I mean, we're the young babies in the group. Not totally now, because there's a lot of newer ones that have broken away. But 200 years is nothing compared to the thousands of years of Asian countries, and just so much history and all. And they do. There are certain countries that really work hard and are able to use their resources and use them in a way that is not detrimental to the planet.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're all working toward, because we found out that the resources are even more frail than we ever thought, because we're really messing things up now.
Well, yeah, I mean it's.
But the warning signals were there long ago, and now we've got big pieces of the ice.
Yeah.
In the Arctic just crashing into the water. I mean, the glaciers and all. And that's a regular process, but it's worse because what's happening is melting from underneath.
Well, it's something that we need to pay attention to. Absolutely. Because it's not to our advantage to change the planet that much, as far as the temperatures and there's been ice ages and warmer period. I mean, we all know that. But the thing is right now, the way the zones are, the temperate zones, the tropical zones, more frigid zones and stuff like that, it's, I think it's worked reasonably well, but we don't want to heat the planet up, and we don't want to, the current ice cap on the planet. I mean, there's just so much, like you were talking about with that. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are frozen into that ice that you may hear every now and then, like some of the disease organisms that haven't been around for, who knows how long.
And as we heat up those insects and different things that have been contained within a certain area where the heat is higher, are going to expand their reach too.
Oh yeah.
So disease is going to become more and more of an issue. And I saw a really interesting video about the viruses and COVID, and how actually destroying the rainforest in certain ways, where you reach into a habitat that has something with a disease, opens that up, because they're going to find another place to live, and it's going to mesh into our own system of resources and what we need and use, so that if our water is tainted by a virus, that was before it was contained into a certain area and we've disturbed it. It's just like opening up a Superfund area and letting all the contaminants spray into the air.
Yeah. It's not to mention all beneficial things that could be destroyed and have been so far.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look at these fires. Look at the fires in California and all the animals that have been burned or whatever. Well, speaking of animals, look at this thing. What are you doing here? Get out. Go.
Wants to get her 2 minutes of fame.
Yeah. That's what this little guy likes. He likes.
This guy. Okay.
Yeah. I have all shims.
Okay.
And this is my most affectionate animal in my menagerie here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He just loves to be, he loves to be with his owner. People come in and he takes off and you won't see him, and he gets all agitated. But he's a sweetheart, aren't you? Yes, he's a sweetheart. So anyway, let's talk a little. Animals are really good to have during like COVID. By yourself and alone and trying to stay distanced. They do add an element of companionship, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other day, we had a fire, which probably wasn't good for the environment so much, but it got rid of a lot of paper. That's bad, isn't it?
You had a fire, which you talking about?
In a fire pit.
Oh, okay.
In a fire pit. It was distanced and masked, and there were like 3 people there, and it was something that I don't think I've ever done before. So it was fun. So I don't know. A barbecue might be something that makes COVID a little more endurable. Distancing and all that. You have one person cooking and everybody else enjoys the food.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's one of the factors in the COVID transmission. I mean, being outside makes it less transmittable or less likely to be transmitted, I guess.
I think the exposure is not as elevated.
Concentrated. Yeah, I mean
concentrated. It's a better word.
Because I mean, it's a lot of mathematics to it. I mean the
physics. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean it's pretty much science, and if you look at the science and the in this case the contagious or contagion, the properties. I mean, how contagious.
There is something new in the news, possibly a new way to address the COVID, and it has to do with somehow they have figured out how to make more rapid testing less expensive and more broadly available. Supposedly they're going to be working through this, and instead of just identifying people who come in and think that they've been exposed, rather try to target all of the population to keep tabs on this if it's as inexpensive as they're hoping it will be and rapid. And that might make a big difference in what we're seeing now. I mean, over 200,000 deaths. It's actually up to 205,000 as of
I heard 207 today.
Well, see, another 2,000. I mean, it is rampant, and it's not a good situation. So, to all of our listeners, we're hoping that all of you stay safe.
Yeah.
We're hoping that we do come up with another way to address this problem, and that if we can identify people who are asymptomatic and do the testing broadly, I think that our chances of tackling this issue, because then when we do that, we'll know who needs to be quarantined, be able to address that, throughout the population, and go back to normal would be great.
Yeah, which we could have done that by now. Had
we've done it, if we not lied, if we, acknowledged that there was a problem and put not taken away the systems that were in place.
Right.
But that's water under the bridge. So now we just have to go forward.
And
vote. And try to get
definitely
in office who will represent us to the betterment of everybody. Of everybody. And that's what we here at Morning Coffee really want for you, for your neighbors, your family, and the whole rest of the world, because we're all in this together.
Oh yeah. So wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance,
And fill out your census, because they've extended it a few days.
And vote.
Look on our Facebook. We'll have information about how to do all that.
Oh yeah.